Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm going to get share my screen. Um, so thank you for joining us this morning for the TVX info session. My name is Audrey Miller. I'm the program manager for the Colorado SBDC Tech Source Commercialization Program. Quite a mouthful. Um, and really excited to share our program with everyone this morning. Um, so a little bit on kind of what we're going to go over this morning. So we'll talk a little bit about what to expect from the program, kind of a little bit about some successes from past accelerators, talk a little bit about who's a good fit, a little bit as well as about some of our participating specialists, um, and then kind of the content and kind of the process um, of sending in your application. And then we'll have a Q&A. So kind of throughout everything, like I said, we'll start off with a presentation and then we'll have a little bit of a Q&A. So if you have questions kind of throughout the program, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A section on the on your Zoom. Um, just kind of as we go, if you have questions that pop up, and we'll kind of get to them at the end of everything. So, like I said, my name is Audrey Miller. I'm the program manager. And then you can see we're joined by Ed and Ruth as well, who are two of our amazing advisors that help us quite a bit. And you'll be, if you're part of the accelerator, you'd be working pretty closely with and get to know pretty well. Um, so a little bit about the TechSource commercialization program. Um, so we are a statewide program that serves all four corners of the state of Colorado. And it is designed to really help maximize the economic potential of Colorado's small businesses, particularly those who are kind of more in the science and technology industries. So what that means is that we really serve clients all through the state with at no cost. So we're very fortunate to have the funding to be able to offer our programs at no cost to the individuals that we work with. And we do that through a variety of different ways, whether it's one-on-one advising, um, or these accelerators that we offer, or other workshops and webinars. So a little bit about kind of what makes TVX different from other accelerators. So one of the things that I think makes this accelerator pretty unique is that we do focus on non-dilutive capital and technology commercialization rather than more of an equity path like traditional accelerators do. Um, so I think that's something that kind of sets us apart and helping with that non-dilutive, meaning no giving away no equity. So obviously we'll still talk about kind of that equity path a little bit because it's something that is pretty I think it's really helpful for companies to still know what their options are, and to also because a lot of companies do kind of a combination of that non-dilutive and dilutive capital. So we do still help guide individuals through that, but our focus throughout the program is really on that commercialization and non-dilutive capital sources. So something else that makes this program pretty unique is that it is very customized to your business. So something that I think we try really hard to do at the TechSource program is make sure that we customize our services to kind of the stage of your business and your backgrounds and your needs. And so kind of similarly, kind of going to this, academic, not an academic format bullet, we really make sure that this is a very collaborative type of environment, and you're working quite a bit with other peers, as well as our other advisors, so that we kind of meet your needs and kind of where you're at. Um, so, kind of going into that time commitment as well is, I think, something that's very unique to this program. So, we only ask that you're meeting with all of us all at once, one day a week in the morning for 2.5 hours. Um, Many other accelerators, you're doing a few days a week, if not every day, kind of round the clock a little bit more. But here we understand that, you're a founder, as well as potentially a parent, and or just having a life outside of this, hopefully. And so we want to encourage, so because of that, we're very conscious of the time commitment that we're asking of you. So we only ask to be kind of all together one day a week, for, like I said, for 2.5 hours. And then the rest of those deliverables and commitments can be kind of more customized to your schedule. So, part of those time commitments outside of those sessions is you do work with one of our key advisors like Ed and Ruth to really get that customized market research report. It's one of the key deliverables of this accelerator, and I think it's something that's quite unique to the program and something that adds a lot of benefit to most companies. So getting that in-depth market research report is, I think, a really, really amazing piece. And I know all the companies have really benefited from getting that report from our the amazing advisors that we have. And so through the program, we do talk about, how to use that market research, what does that mean, kind of what that entails, and then getting that as a piece to walk away with is, I think, a really great benefit. As I said before, this isn't, we do our best to not create an academic format. We do want this to be a back and forth. And, when there's presentations, things along those lines, asking questions, kind of having it as a conversation, and a conversation with your peers as well. So we do put a lot of effort into making sure that you're able to discuss with your peers, with the other accelerator participants, kind of what you're working on and where your needs are and what you're struggling with, and get that feedback from the rest of the group as well. So something that I think is an amazing benefit of accelerators is really the community that you get out of them. And so we work really hard to make sure that we bring in some really amazing other companies to be able to make this a very collaborative environment and really build that community with each other. And then lastly, I think the thing that might be a lot of people's favorite is that this is free. So we are very fortunate to be funded by the federal and state technology partnership grant, the FAST grant, and to be able to make this offered at no cost to the individuals that we work with. So this is an extremely outdated graphic that I need to prioritize getting updated. So this is probably 2 years old at this point. But this is a little bit of some of the economic impact from past accelerator participants. Most of these numbers have doubled, if not tripled, I think, at this point. But just a little bit of an idea of kind of, yeah, some of the economic impact that we had been able to offer. And then as well, just a quick quote from one of our past participants talking a little bit more about that market research and kind of the benefits of it, and how, yeah, really amazing. I think about the really amazing job that our advisors do to, yeah, support all of y'all. And so kind of talking about that market research, so you'll be in those advisors, so you'll be working very closely with some key advisors throughout the entire program. So once you join the program, you do get automatically assigned to one of these four amazing individuals, and they will kind of be your go-to person throughout the program, your lead advisor, as well as the individual that really works on that market research report for you. And so you get to know them pretty well, and they get to know you very well, and are kind of your go-to person for some of those questions throughout the program. And then this is just a little bit of a taste of just kind of some of those other individuals that you may work with during this program. So we bring in subject matter experts from all across the state of Colorado, and occasionally even a few outside of Colorado, to come in and kind of speak to kind of like what their specialty is and give a short presentation. So they'll kind of come in, give you a little bit of information, and then everyone is available outside of that time to meet with you one-on-one. And so going back to that kind of like customized piece of the program, that's really where that kind of comes in. Is so during the session, things, are going to obviously be a bit more general, but then outside of it is where you get to customize your experience a little bit more. So depending on the content that you're looking for a little bit more support with, and or you need more information on, then we have these SMEs that are really available to kind of meet one-on-one and kind of help give you a little bit more information and guide you through things. So kind of talking about who's a good fit for this program. So individuals that are in leadership at a science and technology company located in Colorado. So we did open this up instead of just being the founder or the CEO. We understand that sometimes, you may want your CTO to go through this program, or, somebody else in kind of a key leadership role. And so it's kind of why we've opened this up to be individuals in leadership at these early stage companies. So it is open to those in like I said, in leadership positions at science and technology companies. And then, excuse me, and then like I said before, the company does need to be located in Colorado, or at least 50% of the employees do need to be located in Colorado to be able to be eligible for this company or for this accelerator, I'm sorry. And then are looking for companies that, are in more of the advanced technology space. So you can kind of see a list of different industries here, and kind of how we define it. There is or other innovation. So, I do keep this relatively broad, but we are looking for people who are, really working on something pretty novel, and something that's very, that's innovative and kind of new to this space a little bit more, in that like more advanced tech space. And then potential to submit for an SBIR STTR proposal. So, if you're not familiar with Small Business Innovative Research Grants, it is a program through the federal government, that is the largest source of non-dilutive capital in the country. So we are looking for individuals who are familiar or have the potential to submit for an SBIR, because as I said earlier, non-dilutive capital sources is a major point of this entire accelerator, and is something that we are really focusing on throughout the program, and really going into help and support entrepreneurs and submitting those proposals. So we are looking for companies that have the potential to at least submit for those proposals. And then last, we are looking for companies that are committed to fully participating. So, if you already know that you may have to miss, 2, 3 weeks of the program, this probably isn't the right time, for you to be participating in the program. Or if maybe you're a little bit hesitant to really share too much about your company in a group setting, this again, you may not be a great fit for the program right now, because this is a very collaborative, very like we said earlier, peer-to-peer type of program. Something that so we do want people who are committed to being able to show up every day, camera on, ready to chat with everybody, and really share what they're working on and kind of what they're struggling with, where their successes are, all that fun stuff. So I'll kind of pass it over to Ed and Ruth to share a little bit more kind of about the program design, and kind of the experience.
Thanks, Audrey. So, there's two parts, as Audrey mentioned. There's what happens in the cohort. So in our weekly meetings, we will bring in subject matter experts to talk to you about business development activities, quite a bit about the SBIR program, different legal considerations you may be going through, and that includes both IP law and some of the other contracting type of things that go on. People talk to you about marketing, HR, and we'll have another source of the non-dilutive funding is the grants from the Colorado Office of Economic Development and International Trade. So if someone come in and explain what the Advanced Industry Accelerator Program does. The big thing is that you get to talk to your peers. And a lot of times when you're, a 1 or 2 person company, you don't necessarily have enough people to bounce ideas off of. So the peer-to-peer stuff is really a great benefit of this program. And a lot of our cohorts have even started doing stuff outside the cohort. There's one that still does happy hours. So, so you do build up a good rapport with some of your peers and colleagues. And we try to progress towards being able to do some type of presentation, whether it's a formal pitch to investors, or if that isn't your eventual goal, it could be a pitch for customers, could be a pitch for recruiting employees or fellow founders or things like that. So those are the things that happen in our weekly meeting, and some of the activities that go on outside the venture should kind of dovetail into some of that stuff that's going on. So I'm one of the advisors that assists primarily with the market research and technology commercialization, but also do quite a bit with the SBIR program. And I did see there's an SBIR program question in the Q&A, and we'll get to those when we get to the end. So not ignoring your question, we'll just defer it for a little bit. And I'll pass it over to Ruth, and she can talk about what happens outside of our weekly meetings.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. So happy to be here. I'm Ruth Janich. I am a market researcher and strategy consultant for the program, as Audrey said. You can see in the venture part of the slide, that goes in parallel to in the cohort, the meetings that Ed was describing. We start with what we call a discovery meeting so that we get to know your business, what you're doing, and that kicks off a process that involves us going out and helping you do market research. You'll get a kind of a customized, curated market research report from your assigned advisor that's specific to your industry. So that helps queue up what you see as the second thread there, and that's the customer discovery. Customer discovery is a big part of this program. We want to use the market research to identify examples of people that you might want to reach out to that can inform you about how your industry works, that could possibly be potential clients in the future, but there's an approach to getting in contact with them that will recommend and coach you on. So that's kind of the second piece. And then, as Ed was saying, the one-on-one SME consulting, you can reach out to whomever you need help from during that time for those one-on-one meetings. Once we're done with the market research, we'll debrief you, and that will start the next deliverable will then be business model canvas. Business model canvas is if you haven't done it before, it's a great process to just kind of get a roadmap for where you're going with your commercialization, and really get good input from, again, the advisor team. In that case, we have both a moderator and an advisor. So you'll have a couple of people helping you through thinking about how you're going to approach your market and your customers. And then all throughout that last thread is the pitch prep. Depending on who you're pitching, will help you structure that pitch and give you feedback. Another thing that's really helpful is to see other clients, other members of the cohort with their pitches and help them, and just kind of see it from another angle. So that's kind of the final deliverable you'll all be pitching at the end. So I think I covered everything, Audrey, but if I didn't, tell me, I'll keep going.
No, perfect. That was great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, so that's a little bit more about kind of, yeah, what the program design and kind of what your experience is going to kind of look like in terms of content. So kind of what you'll get from the program as well. So we've already talked quite a bit about that extensive market research report. And that includes, yeah, SBAR and technology commercialization and insights. And I think, like Ruth said, those do come with some debrief sessions as well. So you will kind of go through that report with your lead advisor who built this for you, and kind of go through kind of some of the content in there and talk through it as well. We do have that business model canvas work session, which I think is something that really helps a lot of people in terms of kind of going into, their clients and kind of potential pathways to working with those, hopeful clients and customer segments. Pitch deck consulting. So we will work with you to kind of go through that pitch deck as well. I know, like Ruth said, it's really beneficial to be able to see those, to see other individuals' pitch decks to kind of see what's working, what's not working, as well as getting that feedback from our advisors as well. And so as well, like I said, you get those consulting sessions with any of the SMEs that we bring in at no cost to you. And then we also have an action plan that you work on throughout the program with just kind of little activities throughout it. So just really mostly for, some thought questions things to really make sure that you've already thought through, and putting that on paper is a really beneficial tool into making, into like things that maybe you've already thought you knew or thought that you had already worked through, and then you start thinking about it more in depth and you realize there's a little bit more to do there. And then finally, what we'll do, we do have a presentation that you get feedback from outside, SMEs and other participants as well. So we try to bring in some individuals for that final presentation who have an experience really either investing or, allocating money, giving money in some capacity to businesses. So this is just a little bit about like what things may look like kind of throughout the program. So this always is changing in terms of how it kind of works week by week, but just a little bit again of kind of some of those topics that you're going to be learning a bit about, and that we bring in some SMEs to discuss with everybody. So date-wise, this does run from March 20th to May 15th. Then it'll be Thursday mornings from 9 to 11:30 a.m. The last kind of half of the program, there will be optional pitch practices from 11 to 11:30. And I do strongly encourage individuals to really join for that last half hour each time to, again, see other people's pitches, help provide some feedback for your peers, and just to learn a little bit more. Expected time commitments. So again, here you can kind of see a little bit more about what that will look like in and outside of the cohort. So again, those cohort sessions will be kind of the bulk of that time. Those time commitments, you'll have that discovery meeting with your lead advisor, kind of that debrief of your market research, and then that business model canvas, which again will be with your lead advisor as well as another advisor to kind of go through that whole activity. And then in terms of kind of deliverables, you can kind of see here what those deliverables will look like. Ruth mentioned customer discovery is a major part of this program, and it's because it's such a key part of really understanding who your customers are. Your customers and your users are, and really getting to know them very well. And so we do put a pretty big emphasis on customer discovery in helping guide you through that process. You do have there is also a financial projections workbook that we do have some advisors who can help you kind of work through that, especially when you're pretty early. I know it can be really daunting and difficult and confusing to really start on those financial projections. But so we do help guide you through that, and do ask for that workbook to be filled out by the end of the program. And then we also will do a kind of a company spotlight. So each week we do spotlight at least one, if not two, of the companies to kind of work through kind of what kind of major question that they have, and helping kind of get that peer support and guidance. And then working on your pitch deck in that final presentation as well is really important. So, in kind of doing that and turning that in by the end, and then the action plan, like I said, which is, if you're kind of working on it throughout the program, isn't really that daunting. If you save it all for the end, well, it might be pretty daunting. But if you're doing it kind of throughout the program like you're supposed to, it shouldn't be, it doesn't take too much time, and it's just a really great tool for kind of thought exercises. And then as well for those weekly tasks, it's just kind of you can see that's just reviewing some of the presenter materials. I do send the slides after every session for you to kind of take a look at. And then, we'll ask you to fill out, kind of that final evaluation and any follow-up surveys and stuff and meetings at the end of it. So that's kind of the overview of the program. So, hopefully we've caught your interest at least a little bit. And so kind of application deadline is March 2nd at 9 a.m. And that is a pretty hard cutoff because we will be reviewing applications pretty early that next week. So that way we can let people know as quickly as possible. So that, like I said, that application deadline is March 2nd at 9 a.m. Mountain Time, I should say. And if you want to apply, you can apply at this link. I'll drop it in the chat in just a moment as well. And also in the follow-up email to all the attendees, I will also send the link to the program. I'll also drop my email if you have any questions. Obviously, feel free to be putting those in the chat as right now. And then if you, like I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat now. But if there's any questions afterwards, you're also welcome to send me an email and ask them after the program. So I'm going to stop sharing so we can kind of get to those, and also so I can drop things in the chat. While we're kind of getting started, Ed, do you want to talk a little bit more about SBIR STTRs?
Sure, I can do that. So the SBIR program, STTR is a subset. So I'm just going to say SBIR. It means both. So the SBIR program was set up actually in 1982, and what it does is it takes certain agencies that have an external R&D budget of a certain size, and they have to take 3.2% of that money and use it as a small business set aside. So they contract for external R&D with a small business. And the way they do this through this program, where almost all the agencies that participate will post a solicitation that has topics, and the topics are needs they want to address. So, NASA may be looking for an infrared camera for a Mars rover. The DoD may be looking for a new radar system. NIH may be looking for, a therapeutic cure for a certain disease or something like that. So there are 11 different agencies. I mentioned DoD, NASA, there's Department of Energy, Health and Human Services, EPA. Within the Department of Commerce, it's NIST and NOAA, USDA, National Science Foundation, Department of Homeland Security. I'm sure I'm missing at least one, but if you go to sbir.gov, you can find more background on the program. But it's a three-phase program, and the first phase one, is typically 6 to 9 months worth of research funded by the government, and it's to get to some type of proof of concept. So think of it as de-risking your technology. And then phase two is a follow-on to that. You submit a new proposal. It's also pending on you successfully completing your phase one. It's usually 2 years worth of funding, so on the order of $1 million and $1 million plus dollars. And here you want to get to a prototype. So you're going to develop something that you may deliver to your customer. You may do a prototype that you report on through a pilot project. And then phase three is kind of a misnomer because it's any revenue for that technology that comes from non-SBIR sources. So for example, if you developed a new antenna for the Army and then you actually sold it to the Army under a program of record, so not through the SBIR program, that would be considered phase three or commercialization money. In general, you're writing a proposal that's responsive to a topic that's been published. Right now, Department of Defense has topics open, NASA has topics open, Department of Energy has topics open, Department of Transportation just pre-released topics. That was one I forgot. So anyways, we go into it in a lot of detail. I've been doing it for 20 years now, so it's a complex program. So that's about as much as I can tell you in the short instance. The one thing I will say is they do stress not only that you develop a technology that's responsive to the topic, but there's also a commercial market for it. So that's why a lot of the market research we do, the customer discovery you do, informs how you might eventually sell that to a customer who's not necessarily the DoD or NASA. And there was a second question on SBIR. With the recent changes in funding priorities and limitations, thus far, everything that was the solicitations that were open when the government transitioned are still open. They did not take any down. They did not delay any deadlines. I suspect that new solicitations may shift some of the topics to reflect priorities of the current administration. But in general, I mentioned this program has been around since 1982. It has strong bipartisan support. It is a very impactful program for everybody's congressional district, which is why everybody in Congress votes for it. No congressperson wants to stand up and say, I'm the one who killed small business funding in my district. So I think you'll see it continue. You may see a shift in some of the topics. You may see a couple agencies that have a delay in getting things out. You may see a delay in decisions getting made, particularly for the ones that crossed over where the topics were published prior to the transition of the administration. But I've been telling people that, any topic that you respond to, one of the big pushes with the new administration is impact on the economy. So talking about impact, um, highlighting that as strongly as you highlight the quality of your science, I think helps you be positioned for what I think is going to be the new rigor for how things are evaluated.
There was another question too about SBARs that I did want to address that someone said, so if our technology doesn't match with the available topic ideas, then we wouldn't be likely to get funding from SBAR.
Just saw that one. Yeah, we actually, there's one of the sessions we do talks about that, and there's actually a webinar that's been recorded that talks about how to find topics. The good news is your technology probably fits under NSF because they do things differently. They don't publish specific topics. They have areas that they call portfolios of research. So if you're doing artificial intelligence, there's a topic there. If you're doing medical technologies that don't require clinical trials, there's a topic there. If you require clinical trials, you're going to get pushed to NIH. There's things on, well, let's just say NSF is very broad. What they're looking for there is for you to explain why what you're doing is innovative and what the societal benefits are to it. And that could be economic impact. Um, it could be environmental impact. It could be just a better outcome from a medical standpoint, from an education standpoint. So there could be a lot of different things. So NSF does things differently. And then most of the agencies, everybody within Department of Defense is now required to do what they call open topics, which are if you have a good idea that fits into one of these buckets, which tend to be very broadly defined, you can propose stuff to the DoD.
Yeah, so it's not limited just by what is open right now. And it
Yeah,
also isn't limiting to your ability to I do want to say too, it's not limited to your ability to apply for the program as well. It's just that there's the potential for it. So it doesn't need to be that there is an open topic idea at this moment. Just that there is that potential.
and some agencies like the Department of Defense publishes topics every month. So they do
Yeah.
it 12 times a year. Department of Energy is twice a year. NASA, most of them are once a year. NIH publishes their topics once, but they have 3 different deadlines. NSF accepts solicitations or accepts proposals 3 times a year. So there's a lot of opportunities, and again, there's a great calendarization of when different agencies do stuff on sbir.gov. And if I find that link before we hop off the call, I'll actually drop it in the chat.
Oh yeah. And so this another question to assist through the accelerator, will we receive help deciding between SBIR or SBIR/STTR applying to NIH, National Institute of Aging? Okay, perfect. Yeah. So yeah, that's part of that market research is that you will actually get some insight into kind of what government agencies may be interested, what potential topics may be open or opening soon as well. So you do receive insight onto a lot of that as well. I don't know if you guys want to say anything else about that, but
One of the things that is specifically called out in the reports is we typically have a section that says, based on your description, your technology, here are agencies you should look for. Here's when we anticipate, that they'll be looking for topics. So
yeah. And then something I do want to call out because I realized I forgot to kind of give the disclaimer at the beginning, and I noticed there's a couple questions. So this program is actually not different than TVXW. Unfortunately, um, we have had to uh, I should say, unfortunately, we no longer are offering it as TVXW. This is just TVX, so the group is open to everyone now, kind of due to the changes in funding or priorities by this current administration, and kind of going back to our original um, goal of serving all small businesses. So there is no difference between this and TVXW. They are the same as well as deadlines. I noticed that there were a couple questions as well. So we did extend the deadline by a week. So I know that online it still says the 24th. It will be March 2nd, literally later this afternoon. We just recently on Friday decided to extend that deadline a week. So yeah, so the deadline is March 2nd now at 9 a.m. Yeah, and TVXW is the same as TVX. Um, So let's see. So when you say a good fit, would not be hesitant to share in a group setting. What types of coverage agreements, non-disclosure are there within this group? Yeah, so that's a great question. So within the group, we do not ask any group members to sign anything. So in that way, we do say, basically talk as though there is not an NDA. In terms of with our the advisors that you may meet with. In that way, every advisor that you may meet with outside of the program, like Ruth and Ed, or any of our other, kind of subject matter experts that we would bring in that you may meet with, everyone does need to sign a confidentiality agreement yearly. So same as me, we all share one every year, to be able to work with clients. So basically saying that we will not share your information outside of kind of our group without your explicit, say so. Um, but like I said, we do not ask participants to sign anything. So in session, I would say that I would speak as though there is not an NDA, but we do want people to be comfortable kind of sharing information about their business as well. Um, so, but you don't need to get into, the real nitty gritty of things all the time. So it's just, you can still speak as somewhat of a high level. So what stage of a company is a good fit? So in terms of the stage of a company that's a good fit, so I would say that for a company, it's really kind of looking at that R&D and commercialization phase of your company. So kind of companies that are looking that are kind of in that phase. So I'd say relatively early, but hopefully you're kind of a little bit past like an MVP or like working on that MVP at the time. This is kind of typically where we're kind of looking for that tend to be the best fit for this company for this accelerator. I don't know, Ruth and Ed, if you want to add anything to being like, what's the best? Yeah, good fit.
No, I think that's about right. But we do have some, pretty early stage companies. We'll, as depending on your advisor, will adjust accordingly, and especially the outside deliverables to just help you wherever you are. We will consider a range, but we certainly want, to see that kind of a match with the SBIR potential is probably one of the key things.
And then I saw another question kind of asking how early can a founder participate? So I would say that you do need to be founded and registered with the Secretary of State in Colorado to be able to participate in the program. So we do ask that you are, at least to that point. And then in terms of how early you are, I think it really depends on your commitment and kind of in your application of what you're working on and where you're at right now. So yeah, we do have people who are very early stage, kind of still in that like idea stage, but are like, an established business at this point. But that being said, we kind of evaluate it on a case by case basis through like your application. Um, so what is the typical distribution within a cohort between different industries? So that really varies by cohort, quite a bit. So it really depends. Some years, it is more maybe health tech focused or ed tech focused. Some years it may be more aerospace focused. So it really does kind of vary quite a bit each cohort, but we do our best to really make sure that we have a wide range of different types of companies in each cohort. One, just to make sure there's not a ton of crossover, and then as well, we want to make sure that we're bringing in multiple different perspectives and different industries from different industries as well. But we really, the main focus isn't having, I don't know, a certain distribution of industries. The main focus is really making sure people are a good fit for the program, based off of, their commitment to the program and kind of, their eligibility for an SBIR, things along those lines. I would say it's more focused on that, and it's kind of more how we weight applications. Again, Ruth and Ed, if there's anything I'm saying, then you want to hop in, feel free to jump in. Um, so, kind of comment on the TVXW structure. So like I said, this is just TVX, no longer TVXW. So it doesn't have any other the requirement for this is really just having a company within the state of Colorado. I think, and again, kind of speaking to that unique advantage is that, we do really focus on being able to bring in a very peer-to-peer kind of environment and have individuals that are coming from all across the state of Colorado and being able to work with each other and really bounce ideas off of one another and really create a community throughout the program. The typical applicant pool size for the program. That's a great question. I'm trying to think of what we had last year. I want to say last year we had around 30 applicants for about 10 spots. So I would say that's a pretty typical kind of size, like I said, from last year to this year. It is open up now quite a bit more, since this is open to all individuals this year. So that I don't know how much that'll change the size of that. Yeah, the amount of applications that we receive this time.
So Audrey, can I just add to that? I
Yeah.
mean, I think that maybe the root of this question is about, you know, the chances of getting into the program.
Yeah.
So I really encourage people, like there are questions that give you a chance to say, why are you a good fit? And we really are looking for coachability and for people that come in and they're willing to do the customer discovery and take the market research findings and put them into action and participate fully. So that's one way, if that is a concern of yours, is you can really just stand out and have a competitive application if you address those questions well.
Yeah. And then if you previously submitted an application, would this still be considered? If you previously submitted before the application was open to everyone, then it'll still be considered. If you mean previous years, you do need to resubmit if it was like a previous year. But if it was just, a few weeks ago that you submitted your application, then that's totally fine. It'll still be considered. And then is there a cap to how developed a company can be? There is no cap for it. So we are, we go by small business. I mean, you have to be a small business. We go by the SBA standards of what a small business is, and there is, I don't think anyone here is probably not considered a small business by the SBA standards. So you have to have over 500 employees to no longer be considered a small business. But that being said, we are looking for, again, a cohort that can be pretty cohesive. So I see that you said you have had an MVP for a year and you have revenue. I think you would still be a great fit for the program. We've had people who, have been at a similar stage and have been, still gotten quite a bit out of the program and have had quite a good benefit. Again, kind of what Ruth what Ruth had said is that we're really looking at, more of the application in terms of, that coachability and kind of fitting, kind of the standards that we're looking for in terms of being in that like advanced tech, SBIR fit, things along those lines. And then how do you know if your application's been received? I don't know if the page sends out a confirmation, so feel free to send me an email if you're not sure if your application has been received. You can always just send me a note, and I can double check to make sure that we have it. Because I actually don't know if it sends out a confirmation or not. I have to email the person who does our website and double check. But otherwise, like I said, just send me an email if you're unsure, and you want me to double check. All right. Oh, someone did receive a confirmation that their application was received. Okay. So if you did not receive a confirmation, just let me know, or just send me an email if you want me to double check, and I can let you know if your application has been received or not. Awesome. If there's any other questions, just let me know, or feel free to drop them in the chat really quick as we wrap up. Otherwise, like I said, I put my email in the chat. Feel free to send me an email, and with any other remaining questions that you may have, or if anything pops up, as well as you can, and then as I said before, you can find the application as link as well in the chat to send in that application. And a recording of this will be put up on the website as well, where you can find the application. So that will be posted there, so if you want to refer back to anything. Otherwise, I think that's about it. Thank you all for joining. Thanks, Ruth and Ed, for joining us as well and helping me answer some questions. And yeah, otherwise, like I said, I will be in touch, and thanks all for joining today.